Wife demanded divorce through lawyer, so I treated her like the stranger she wanted to be. The text that ended my marriage arrived at 2:47 p.m. last Thursday. Cole, I've retained Jessica Torres as my attorney. All further communication regarding our relationship must go through her office. Divorce papers will be served within 72 hours. No conversation. No attempt to work things out. No explanation of what I'd supposedly done wrong. Just a cold, legal ultimatum from the woman I'd been married to for 8 years. My response was equally brief. Understood. Then I did exactly what she asked for. I treated her like the complete stranger she apparently wanted to be. I'm Cole, 38, commercial airline pilot making around $180K annually. Marin's 35, teaches yoga classes and runs a lifestyle blog that generates maybe $800 a month on good months. For our entire marriage, I've covered 95% of our expenses, mortgage, utilities, her car payment, credit cards, health insurance, everything. She contributes what she can, but her passion projects don't exactly pay the bills. I've never minded being the primary earner. Marriage is supposed to be a team effort, and I figured we were both contributing in different ways. She handled most of the household management, supported my travel schedule, and I thought we had a good partnership despite the income disparity. Apparently, I was wrong about the partnership part. Thursday afternoon, after receiving her lawyer notice, I spent an hour on the phone with Rita Barnes, my attorney. Rita's been handling family law for 20 years and has seen every manipulation tactic in the book. Cole, she said after I explained the situation, this sounds like someone who wants all the benefits of divorce proceedings without any of the financial consequences. Has Marin been threatening divorce before? She had. Not seriously, I thought. But whenever we'd have disagreements about money or household responsibilities, she'd drop comments about maybe we're not compatible, or maybe I'd be happier on my own. I'd always assumed these were just things people said when they were frustrated. Rita asked what financial arrangements we had in place. When I told her about the joint accounts, credit cards, and automatic transfers that kept Marin's life running smoothly, Rita was quiet for a moment. If she wants all communication through lawyers, Rita said, then she's treating you like an adversary, not a husband. You might want to protect your assets accordingly. Friday morning, I implemented what Rita called immediate financial boundaries. I called our credit card companies and had Marin removed as an authorized user. I stopped the automatic transfers that paid her car payment, phone bill, and personal expenses. I moved our joint savings into an individual account. I canceled the household credit card she used for groceries, gas, and entertainment. Within 48 hours, Marin went from having access to essentially unlimited spending to having access to whatever was in her personal checking account, which based on her spending habits was probably about $200. I didn't do this out of anger or spite. I did it because when someone tells you to communicate only through lawyers, they're telling you the relationship is over. And when a relationship is over, so are the relationship benefits. Saturday evening, my phone started buzzing with calls from Jessica Torres, Marin's attorney. I let them go to voicemail. Sunday morning, Rita called me, laughing. Cole, you need to hear this. Jessica Torres called me in a panic. Apparently, your wife is having a financial emergency and needs you to restore her credit card access immediately. Financial emergency. That's what they were calling the natural consequences of treating your husband like a legal adversary. Jessica wants to know if you'd consider maintaining financial support during the divorce proceedings. Rita continued, for humanitarian reasons. Humanitarian reasons. Like I was running a charity instead of ending a marriage that my wife had just legally terminated. Rita asked how I wanted to respond to Jessica's request. Tell her that Marin wanted all communication through lawyers, I said. She's getting exactly what she asked for. It's been 4 days since I implemented financial boundaries. Marin hasn't contacted me directly. That would violate her own lawyer-only communication rule. But Jessica Torres has called Rita 6 times trying to negotiate some kind of temporary support arrangement. According to Rita, Marin apparently assumed that demanding divorce through lawyers was some kind of power play that would make me more compliant with her demands. She never considered that I might actually treat her like the stranger she insisted on becoming. Frank Santos, my captain mentor at the airline, called yesterday after hearing through the pilot network that I was going through a divorce. His advice was simple. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Marin showed me that she views our marriage as a legal relationship that can be weaponized when convenient. So I'm treating it exactly like the legal relationship she defined it as. The divorce papers arrived this morning. I've forwarded them to Rita and blocked out time next week to review asset division and settlement options. If Marin wanted to end our marriage through legal channels, then legal channels are exactly what she's going to get. Update 1: Jessica Torres, Marin's attorney, called Rita yesterday morning practically begging me to restore some kind of financial support. The conversation revealed just how badly Marin miscalculated her legal strategy. Rita, Jessica said, "I need to be honest with you. My client has no emergency fund, no available credit, and rent due in 2 days. She's asking if Cole would consider temporary support for humanitarian reasons." Rita's response was perfect. "Jessica, your client demanded all communication go through lawyers because she wanted to treat Cole like a legal adversary. He's simply respecting her wishes, but here's where it gets interesting." Jessica admitted that she'd advised Marin this approach would maximize her settlement leverage by forcing me into negotiations from a defensive position. "I told her that immediate divorce demands often motivate husbands to offer more generous terms to avoid prolonged legal proceedings," Jessica explained. "But I didn't expect Cole to just cut everything off immediately. Cut everything off immediately. Like that was some kind of unexpected power move instead of the natural consequence of ending a relationship." Rita asked Jessica what legal basis Marin had for expecting continued financial support during a separation that she initiated. Long silence. Then, honestly, none. "In our state, there's no obligation to maintain support during divorce proceedings unless there's a court order. But my client assumed Cole would continue paying her expenses during the process. Assumed. Marin assumed that I'd keep funding her lifestyle while she legally dismantled our marriage. According to Jessica, Marin is shocked that I implemented financial boundaries so quickly. She apparently expected weeks of negotiation, emotional appeals, and gradual transition planning. Instead, she got exactly what she demanded. Purely legal communication with no emotional accommodation. Rita pressed Jessica for more details about Marin's situation. "Turns out it's worse than I thought. Marin's credit cards are maxed out because she'd been using them for lifestyle expenses. Assuming I'd pay them off as usual, her yoga classes generate about $400 monthly, and her blog income has been declining. She's been living entirely on the financial foundation I provided, with no backup plan for independence. My client may need to move back with her parents," Jessica admitted. "She doesn't have the income to maintain her current living situation without Cole's support. Move back with her parents. At 35 years old. Because she weaponized our marriage without considering the financial realities of actually ending it." Frank stopped by yesterday evening to check on how I was handling everything. When I told him about Jessica's panic calls, he just shook his head. "Cole, I've seen this pattern with 3 other guys in our company. Wife threatens divorce thinking it'll scare husband into being more compliant. When the husband actually agrees to divorce, suddenly they want to work things out. Frank thinks Marin never actually wanted a divorce. She wanted the threat of divorce to manipulate me into changing whatever behavior was bothering her. Problem is, Frank said, once you pull the divorce card, you can't really put it back in the deck. Trust gets broken permanently. He's right. Even if Marin wanted to reconcile now, how could I trust someone who used legal warfare as a relationship negotiation tactic?" Rita called this morning with an update. Jessica Torres wants to schedule a meeting to discuss temporary support arrangements that might benefit both parties. Rita's recommendation: "Tell them that Marin defined this as a legal matter requiring lawyer communication. If she wants support, she can request it through proper legal channels with court documentation. No more assumptions. No more taking my financial contribution for granted. If Marin wants anything from me now, she can legally justify why she deserves it." According to Rita, Jessica is realizing her client's position is much weaker than initially assumed. Settlement leverage only works when the other party is afraid of consequences. When someone welcomes those consequences, the leverage disappears entirely. Madison, Marin's sister, texted me yesterday asking if we could just talk about working things out. I forwarded the message to Rita and reminded Madison that all communication needed to go through legal channels. Marin wanted to treat me like a stranger. Strangers don't get special access or emotional consideration. They get exactly the legal boundaries they demanded. Update 2. Marin broke her own lawyer-only communication rule yesterday by showing up at my apartment, and the conversation revealed just how manipulative her entire divorce strategy had been. I got home from a 3-day flight rotation Tuesday evening to find Marin sitting in her car outside my building. When she saw me, She got out and approached with this desperate, almost panicked energy I'd never seen before. "Cole, we need to talk," she said, completely ignoring the fact that she'd specifically demanded all communication go through attorneys. I reminded her about the lawyer-only rule. Her response was immediate. "Forget the lawyers. I made a mistake. We can work this out. Forget the lawyers." The legal strategy that was supposed to give her maximum leverage had become an inconvenience she wanted to abandon. I told her that if she wanted to communicate, she needed to follow her own rules and contact Rita. But Marin started crying, which was unusual. She's not typically an emotional person. "Cole, I can't afford my apartment anymore. I can't afford anything. I didn't think you'd actually cut me off completely. Didn't think I'd cut her off completely. After she'd legally ended our marriage through attorney demand. You demanded divorce," I said. "Divorce means the relationship is over. When relationships are over, so are the relationship benefits." That's when she admitted something that changed my entire understanding of what had happened. "I didn't actually want divorce," she said. "I wanted you to realize how much you needed me. I wanted you to fight for us, to make changes, to show that you valued our marriage enough to negotiate. She'd weaponized divorce proceedings as a negotiation tactic. "My friends told me that threatening divorce would make you more attentive, more willing to compromise on things that bothered me. They said men respond to the possibility of losing everything." Her friends. This entire legal nightmare had been orchestrated as relationship manipulation advice from other women. I asked what specific changes she'd wanted me to make. "I wanted you to be home more, to prioritize our social life over work obligations, to consult me before making financial decisions. I felt like you treated me like a dependent instead of a partner. Treated her like a dependent, while I was paying 95% of our expenses, and she was contributing $800 monthly to a household that cost $6,000 to maintain. I thought if you believed I was serious about leaving, you'd realize you needed to change." She continued, "I never thought you'd actually treat me like a stranger. But here's the thing, she had treated me like a stranger, cold legal demands, no direct communication, complete relationship termination through attorney notice. I'd simply responded to her actions instead of her hidden motivations. Madison, her sister, called later that evening to apologize for Marin's behavior. The conversation was illuminating. "Cole, I tried to talk her out of this strategy," Madison said, but her friend group convinced her that divorce threats were effective relationship tools. They told her that successful men hate losing anything, so threatening to take away the marriage would make you more compliant. More compliant. They'd viewed our entire marriage as a power dynamic where I needed to be controlled rather than respected. Madison also revealed that Marin had been complaining about our marriage to her friends for months, describing me as financially controlling and emotionally distant. They'd recommended the nuclear option because desperate times call for desperate measures. "She's been staying with our parents for 2 weeks," Madison told me. "She's working at a retail job now, trying to save money for her own place." This whole experience has been a massive wake-up call about financial reality. Working retail, after 8 years of being financially supported while pursuing passion projects that never generated sustainable income. Wednesday morning, Jessica Torres called Rita with a final attempt to salvage something from Marin's legal strategy. "My client would like to withdraw the divorce petition and attempt marriage counseling," Jessica told Rita. Rita's response was immediate. "Cole will respond to that proposal through proper legal channels after reviewing all documentation. No more emergency calls. No more panic negotiations. If Marin wanted to reverse course on the divorce she demanded, she could follow the same legal processes she'd insisted on using. But honestly, the damage is already done. I can't unknow that Marin viewed our marriage as a power struggle, where legal threats were acceptable manipulation tactics. Frank was right about trust being permanently broken, even if we attempted reconciliation. I'd always wonder what other nuclear options she'd consider if she didn't get her way in future disagreements. Marin taught me that financial support is a privilege that should be earned through mutual respect, not demanded through legal intimidation. She wanted to find out how much she meant to me by threatening to leave. Instead, she found out how much our marriage meant to her by actually facing the consequences of leaving. Final update, I wasn't planning to update this story again, but the past 6 months have been so transformative that it feels worth sharing the resolution, especially for anyone who's ever had someone weaponize legal threats in their relationship. The divorce was finalized 3 months ago. Rita structured the settlement beautifully. I kept the house, my retirement accounts, and most assets I'd acquired before and during marriage. Marin received minimal alimony for 2 years, just enough to help with transition costs, but nowhere near enough to maintain the lifestyle I'd been funding. The most satisfying part wasn't the financial outcome, though. It was discovering what my life actually looks like when I'm not constantly managing someone else's financial irresponsibility. My monthly expenses dropped by about 60% immediately after the divorce. Turns out Marin's modest lifestyle was costing me nearly $3,000 monthly beyond basic household costs. Restaurant meals, spa treatments, boutique clothing, premium gym memberships, weekend trips with friends, all the lifestyle elements I'd been subsidizing without really tracking the cumulative cost. I bought a smaller place closer to the airport, upgraded my truck, and still have more money left over each month than I'd seen in years. Financial freedom after 8 years of being the sole income provider feels incredible. Rita and I became good friends through this process. She helped me recognize patterns of financial abuse I'd been ignoring throughout my marriage. Cole, she told me during one of our final meetings, you weren't a husband to Marin. You were a financial resource she happened to live with. That perspective was harsh but accurate. Marin had never been interested in building something together. She'd been interested in accessing what I'd already built. I started dating about 4 months ago. Elena, a fellow pilot I met at a regional aviation conference. The difference between being with someone who earns her own money versus someone who spends yours is remarkable. When Elena and I go out for dinner, she pays for her meal, or we split the check. When she wants something for her apartment, she budgets for it and buys it herself. When we plan trips, she covers her own expenses and coordinates logistics as an equal partner. For the first time in nearly a decade, I'm in a relationship with someone who wants to experience life with me, not someone who wants me to fund her experience of life. Madison keeps me updated on Marin's situation, though I don't ask for details. Apparently, the retail job became a management position, and Marin's been forced to learn actual budgeting and financial planning. She's living with a roommate now, drives an older car, and has developed what Madison calls a much more realistic understanding of money. This whole experience taught her that threatening to leave someone doesn't automatically make them fight to keep you, Madison told me recently. Sometimes it just makes them realize how much easier life would be without you. Madison also mentioned that Marin's friend group, the ones who advise the divorce threat strategy, have been conspicuously absent since she lost access to the lifestyle they'd encouraged her to take for granted. Turns out friends who bond over spending other people's money aren't really interested in friendship when that money disappears, Madison observed. The best part of my current life is the absence of financial anxiety. No more wondering if credit card bills will be manageable. No more budgeting around someone else's impulse purchases. No more feeling guilty about wanting to save money because it inconvenienced someone else's lifestyle expectations. Elena and I are planning a vacation to Europe this summer. We're each saving our own money for it, coordinating our schedules as equals, and building excitement about an experience we're creating together rather than something one person is providing for the other. That's what actual partnership looks like. Two people who both bring something valuable to the relationship instead of one person contributing everything, while the other person accepts it as they do. Frank stopped by last week with news that one of our mutual pilot friends had just gone through something similar. Words getting around our community, Frank said. Your stories become a cautionary tale about not tolerating financial manipulation, even when it comes from people you love. I never intended to become an example for other people, but if my experience helps someone else recognize financial abuse disguised as marriage, then going through this mess served a purpose beyond just my own liberation. Marin taught me that when someone treats you like a stranger, you should believe them and respond accordingly. Elena is teaching me what it looks like when someone treats you like a true partner. The difference is life-changing,